Have you ever strolled through a massive aquarium, eyes wide, hoping to come face to face with the ocean's most legendary predator, the great white shark, only to realize it's never there? You're not alone. Despite its fame and fierce reputation, the great white shark is mysteriously absent from aquariums all over the world. But why? Let's dive into the 7 biggest reasons no one has successfully kept a great white in captivity, and probably never will. 1. They need way more space than you think. Great whites aren't your average sharks. These giants can grow up to 6 meters long and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. But size alone isn't the only challenge. Unlike other marine animals, great whites are highly migratory. In the wild, they're known to travel thousands of kilometers. Some have even made round-trip journeys from Africa to Australia and back in just 9 months. They never stop swimming, not because they're restless, but because they have to in order to breathe. Water needs to constantly pass through their gills to oxygenate their blood, and staying still just isn't an option. Aquariums have tried. The Monterey Bay Aquarium once built a 1-million-gallon tank specifically for open ocean fish. Even then, it was only able to temporarily house a juvenile great white about 4 feet long. That attempt, like all others, ended in failure. 2. Captivity makes them depressed. Yes, even sharks can suffer psychologically. The artificial environments of aquariums, no matter how sophisticated, simply don't meet the biological and mental needs of a great white. With limited space, unchanging surroundings, and no hunting opportunities, these predators quickly fall into a state of stress and depression. They stop eating, swim sluggishly, and eventually become aggressive or lethargic. There have been multiple cases where captive great whites refused food and began displaying signs of illness within days. One infamous case in SeaWorld involved a shark that had to be force-fed mackerel and injected with nutrients before ultimately dying just 16 days later. Others didn't even last a week. 3. They end up hurting themselves. In captivity, great whites often ram into the sides of their tanks, sometimes repeatedly. Why? One theory is that their finely tuned electroreception, which they use to detect prey and navigate, becomes distorted in the confined space. These sharks are hardwired for open ocean life. In a tank, they get confused, disoriented, and injured. Every great white that has died in captivity has shown signs of this behavior. It's heartbreaking and dangerous, and it's one more reason aquariums simply can't provide a safe habitat. 4. It's incredibly expensive. Capturing, transporting, and housing a great white is not only challenging, it's also wildly expensive. In 2004, the Monterey Bay Aquarium had to build a custom mobile tank just to transport a juvenile shark from Malibu to Northern California. It required oxygen support, 4 fluids, and careful monitoring for the entire 9-hour trip. And that was just for the transport. Feeding is another problem. Unlike most aquarium fish that eat pre-prepared meals, great whites are natural hunters. They typically only eat live prey. Constantly supplying live fish, or worse, live seals, would not only be costly but also controversial and potentially disturbing for visitors. 5. They're actually not great for exhibits. Even if a great white could survive in captivity, there's another issue. You probably wouldn't even get a good look at it. To accommodate one, you'd need a tank the size of a football stadium. That means the shark would likely be far from the glass, barely visible. Plus, if the aquarium attempted to feed it live prey, guests might witness some gruesome scenes. And no one wants to see an injured, stressed-out shark smashing into walls. It's not just bad for the shark, it's bad for the experience. 6. They don't survive in captivity. Period. Here's the cold, hard truth. Great whites just don't make it in aquariums. From 1955 to today, every single attempt to keep one has ended in death or forced release. The longest a great white has ever survived in captivity was 198 days. And even then, it killed 2 tank mates before being released back into the wild. Most attempts don't even make it past 2 weeks. Some researchers have tried to breed a more captivity-friendly version of the great white. None of those efforts succeeded either. It's become clear, biologically, great whites are just not built for confinement. 7. Public opinion is changing. In recent years, documentaries like Blackfish and The Cove have shifted public perception about keeping marine animals in tanks. Activist groups and everyday people alike are raising concerns about the ethics of captivity, especially for large, intelligent animals. Even though there's still public fascination with great whites, Many people are now more aware of the harm that captivity causes. The demand for these exhibits is decreasing, and rightfully so. We want to see these creatures, sure, but we also want them to be healthy, thriving, and free. Final thoughts. The truth is, great white sharks are among the most misunderstood animals on the planet. We fear them, we admire them, but we're slowly learning that some creatures just aren't meant to be caged. Instead of trying to bring great whites to us, maybe it's time we meet them where they belong, out in the wild, on their own terms. So, would you still want to see a great white shark in an aquarium if it meant it would suffer and die? Or would you rather catch a glimpse of it in its natural habitat, even if only for a second?